then regard to infrastructural works being undertaken in Agalega, he will state, A, the facilities being constructed thereat, including aerodrome and deep water port, giving details thereof, indicating if these will include fuel, weapons, and ammunition storage facilities, and accommodation for personnel. B, total cost of construction thereof, and C, estimated total annual cost of operation of the facilities, including cost of human resources, transportation, repairs, maintenance, and insurance.
Mr. Speaker, sir, as the House is aware, there are currently two main infrastructural development projects that are being implemented for improving sea and air transportation facilities in Agalega, namely the construction of a new airstrip and a jetty together with the associated infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, sir, the existing Agalega airstrip of 1,300 meters long and 30 meters wide was constructed during the years 1984-1985 and is made up of compacted corals. As from 1998, the surface of the airstrip started to deteriorate with small pebbles coming off from the surface. Some remedial works were carried out in 1999 to resurface the airstrip. But unfortunately, the bitumen materials used did not adhere to the surface, and over time, it started to peel off again. In view of the bad state of the airstrip, the Civil Aviation Department had since then not authorized the landing of commercial planes. Only medical evacuation by the douanier was allowed. Since 2003, several attempts had been made to upgrade the airstrip at Agalega, but these have not been successful. Access by sea to Agalega is also severely constrained owing to inadequate infrastructure and facilities, as there is no proper jetty on the island for embarkation and disembarkation of passengers and cargo. The possibility of the Indian government providing assistance to upgrade the airstrip in Agalega had been raised with the Indian authorities on several occasions since 2005. In March 2014, the Indian authorities proposed that the government of Mauritius could consider designating a suitable implementing agency for preparing a detailed project report for the infrastructure works in Agalega and for overseeing the overall implementation of the project. Setting up of a joint project monitoring committee comprising representatives of both India and Mauritius to oversee and monitor the implementation of the project, as well as to monitor progress made by the implementing agency. The Indian side also agreed to consider deputing relevant technical experts as and when required to assist and work with the implementing agency for the preparation of the detailed project report up to the final implementation of the project. Being given that Mauritius had no technical expertise in those specific areas, the Indian authorities were requested to consider commissioning a full-scale technical study. A joint project monitoring committee was thus set up in April 2014 at the Ministry of Local Government and Outer Islands, and a technical committee was set up to work on the technical specifications of the infrastructural projects. In August 2014, 3 Indian technical experts proceeded to Agalega for the preparation of a comprehensive work plan for the implementation of the projects. In parallel, following discussions at the level of the Joint Project Monitoring Committee, a draft memorandum of understanding for the development of air and sea transportation facilities in Agalega was prepared for consideration by both sides. Subsequently, both sides finalized the memorandum of understanding, and the then government approved the MOU on 31st October 2014.
Again, my question is very specific as to what is presently being constructed in Agalega. Time is going to run out. Already 5 minutes have gone, and the Prime Minister is taking us back along history lane.
What I'm saying is...
we answer the question as it is.
Order.
I need your help, Mr. Speaker.
I'm giving you my help. Give me your help. I have no control over the executive. You've been a former acting Prime Minister of this country. I pay you due respect. Please continue.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I'm setting the actual facts with regard to how this project is materializing today. And it started even before I was part of the government.
No debate. This is question and reply.
During the state visit of His Excellency Shri Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of India, to Mauritius in March 2015, the Memorandum of Understanding, which had already been approved by the then government in October 2014, was signed between Mauritius and India. A copy of the MOU was laid on the table of the National Assembly on 31st of March 2015 during the reply made to the private notice question on Agalega. Mr. Speaker, sir, in regard to part A of the question, as the House is also aware, the two projects, namely construction of new airstrip and jetty in the island of Agalega, are being implemented by Aucun Limited. The new runway will be of 3 kilometers in length and 60 meters wide in the north-south orientation, parallel to the existing runway. The associated infrastructure will comprise an air traffic control tower, passenger terminal building, aircraft hangar, and runway lighting, amongst others. It will be an all-weather concrete runway with capabilities for day and night landings. As regards the new jetty, it will have a berthing face of 255 meters in length. The jetty will have associated infrastructure for providing services such as fresh water, firefighting, electricity, and crane. The new expected completion date of these two projects is end of December 2021. The completion of some of the associated infrastructure works may go beyond December 2021 because of the constraints with regard to mobilization of manpower due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Speaker, sir, the projects do not include storage facilities for weapons or ammunition. Fuel storage facilities will be limited to the requirement for refueling of ships and aircraft, running of electric generators, vehicles, and other machines. Facilities will also be available to accommodate personnel of the National Coast Guard. Mr. Speaker, sir, in regard to part B of the question, these projects are being entirely financed by the Government of India. Mr. Speaker, sir, in regard to part C of the question, a committee under the chair of the Permanent Secretary of my office and comprising representatives of the Outer Islands Development Corporation, the port and airport authorities, is currently assessing the future operational requirements of these facilities. Mr. Speaker, sir, the agreement signed with the Government of India on the infrastructural projects in Agalega is intended only for the implementation of measures to promote, protect, and safeguard our maritime security needs in the following areas: surveillance of our vast EEZ, counter-piracy, counter-terrorism, counter-narcotics and human trafficking, controlling poaching and illegal fishing, provision of hydrographic services, promoting economic development of Agalega, emergency response including search and rescue, and marine pollution responses. As I have stated previously in the House, let me reiterate most emphatically and in unequivocal terms that there is no agreement between Mauritius and India to set up a military base in Agalega. Mr. Speaker, sir, apart from the two main projects being implemented by Aucun Limited, the Outer Islands Development Corporation is in the process of implementing the following capital projects: a fish landing station, an office block, a refugee center, an open gymnasium, a library, and equipment for coconut harvesting. In addition, the Ministry of Housing and Land Use Planning is in the process of constructing 50 housing units. Mr. Speaker, sir, the infrastructural development in Agalega will certainly improve air and sea connectivity, thus improving the standard of living of the Agaleans, as it will generate significant economic and commercial opportunities for them and the Republic of Mauritius. Mr. Speaker, sir, as we have done for Rodrigues, where development has been spearheaded and accelerated every time the MSM has been leading the government, we are putting Agalega on the path of development and progress with the help of India. We want development to reach every single part of our territory, since our people remain at the heart of our development goals. We have also committed to develop islands of the Chagos Archipelago once we are able to exercise our full sovereign rights on the islands as determined by the United Nations, the International Court of Justice, and the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Mr. Speaker, sir, I seize this opportunity to once again thank the government of the Republic of India for the help and assistance it has constantly extended to Mauritius.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the questions I will ask are the questions that are on the lips of every Mauritian and Agalean, and also, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister will note that the international community will be watching closely. First question relates to the inhabitants. Honorable Doriau stated in 16th April 2019, in response to a PQ, that this is what he said: when construction project will start, we will make sure that Agaleans are fully involved in the project. Is he aware that not a single Agalean is actually working on the construction of all these facilities on their doorstep, although there are dozens of Agaleans unemployed?
Mr. Speaker, sir, yes, I am aware that inhabitants of Agalega are not currently employed by Afghans, except during embarkation and disembarkation of Troketia. But I must say, they have been offered other jobs as per their skills, and unfortunately, they have not responded. However, I'm informed that once these projects are completed, they will be given priority as per their skills for employment.
Prime Minister, to double-check this information, this is not what the Agaleans have told me. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I'll ask the Prime Minister, Agaleans have been trying to import cement for their own house extension. And this possibility has been denied to them. Why would the government of Mauritius deny Agaleans, simple Agaleans, the right to import cement to improve their housing?
Well, I am not aware about the request for importation of cement. I must look into that.
Mr. Speaker, still for Agaleans. Now, this was in the paper, so the Prime Minister must be aware of it. One Agalean asked to start a cattle rearing project, Mr. Pulluler. And this also, Mr. Speaker, was denied to him. So he cannot, in fact, start to earn a decent living by himself there. So, Mr. Speaker, isn't all this tantamount to actually constraining the Agaleans?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm not aware if somebody has been denied a project or an initiative to rear cattle. I will check into that.
Because the Prime Minister is also Minister for IDC.
Yes.
So this he should know. He should be aware.
I should know if somebody is wanting. Let me answer. I should know, Mr. Speaker, if somebody wants to buy cement. I should know if somebody wants to buy cattle. I should know if anyone wants to do. Let us be serious. Let us be serious.
Mr. Speaker, sir. No, but this was given wide publicity. You are giving me the floor, Mr. Speaker.
Can I complete my answer? A question is being asked. If the honourable member intended for me to answer those questions, I believe he should have been specific, and he should have at least. I am not here not to provide information. I will provide all the information that I am able to provide. But please, put specific questions. Don't ask me if somebody wanted to have a haircut and he was denied to go to a barber.
The Prime Minister should be on top of his file, especially this particular file. I'm going to ask the Prime Minister this question. The airport under construction, the port under construction. Neither IML and its many engineers, nor the MPA and its many engineers are at all involved in the development of these facilities in Agalega, whereas for Rodrigues they are fully involved. How can you explain that we seem to have washed our hands completely of the development in Agalega?
We have not washed our hands completely. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition is completely beside the point. There are consultants who are monitoring the projects. There are 3 technical people who are based in Mauritius. 2 of them are regularly in Agalega, and 1 is on and off in Agalega to monitor those projects. So how can he say that we have completely washed our hands with these projects?
Table, Mr. Speaker, this one, I think he will be aware, titled Massacre écologique en cours in Agalega. Hope this is not to do with his haircut. Here, he might be able to know about this. And here, Mr. Speaker, there is no Mauritian base there at all. No supervision at all by the government on a permanent basis in Agalega. And, Mr. Speaker, substantial irreparable damage being done to one of the most pristine environments in the world. What has he got to answer to this photo that appeared, and I will table this, Mr. Speaker, an article in Express.
Mr. Speaker, sir, yes, I've been provided with this photo, and I am informed that it was due to heavy continuous rain from June to October, that water coming from side fields was accumulated in the cleaning zone for the construction of the new airstrip parking. And as it came from the fields, it carried mud and humus, which made the texture of the water brownish. This is the truth. And further, I will refer you.
It does tell the Prime Minister, it doesn't impress me when he shouts. It doesn't impress me.
Order.
Keep cool.
Yes.
Order. 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 Have you finished with your reply?
Let me also, I'm not finished. You are. Keep cool, you. Let me also. Let me also refer the Honourable Leader of the Opposition. I'm sure he must have read, because the same issue was raised by his good friend, one Mr. Bruno Loret, to the, and questions were asked to Her Excellency, the High Commissioner of India, who did her homework to find out about the veracity of those allegations, and she had replied to say that this is not correct, and there was no pollution, and nothing of such sort emanated from the construction works. So I hope you have taken good note of that also.
What is happening in your own ministry? Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask the Honourable Prime Minister this question. On 23rd October, PQB 901, BPM Doriabu stated, respect of Agalega, they will have to submit an EIA report. And the same was repeated many times by the previous Minister of Environment. I'd like to ask the Honourable Prime Minister, although we know that it has been exempted, delisted, etc., Agalega, there was a commitment made to this House that there would be a voluntary EIA report prepared. Now, does he know whether an EIA report has been prepared for Agalega, and will he table same, please?
First of all, Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to the first remark of the Leader of the Opposition, I know perfectly well what is happening in my ministry. But I think he doesn't know what is happening in his party. So, let me say again, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition doesn't know, because in his question he's saying whether the project has been accepted or delisted. It has not been accepted, it has been delisted. And we have gone according to law, where the regulation has been published. Now, there is an environment report which has been prepared, and the consultants obviously monitor the situation with regard to all the measures that are contained and that has to be applied by the contractor with regard to those two projects.
The Prime Minister should be aware of what his own ministers are saying against him. The question was, will he table a copy of this report? Because Mauritians, this House, has a right to have a copy of this report.
Well, Mr. Speaker, sir, the works of, I have additional information, that the works are being supervised by Rights Limited of India. And a qualified environment engineer is posted at the site by the contractor. Additionally, there are authorities like the National Coast Guard, the Mauritius Meteorological Services, OIDC, and others who, of course, according to the Environment Protection Act, they do assume their responsibility, and if there is anything that has to be communicated to my ministry, they will do so. Now, this, of course, that is the purpose of delisting these projects from the EIA. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition knows perfectly well that it is not the same procedure as is adopted for obtaining an EIA license, where then the report is published, and then it is also subject to any objections that can be made by anyone. This is different, and he knows perfectly well the law that regulates the delisting of projects.
I'm saying that his ministers, not himself, took a commitment in this House to publish this very EIA report that he says in his possession. Now, is he going now? Yes, I have it here. PQ, it is here. It is here.
Which PQ?
Which PQ? You want to know which PQ? And then you will do it. And then you will, if you tell me, yes, you will do it, I will tell you which PQ. PQ B901. That's what PQ. Now, Mr. Speaker, in relation to Agalega, again, rights have been appointed by the government of India. My point is that there is no government representative for the government of Mauritius, Mr. Speaker. So now, let me come to the cost and economic benefit, Mr. Speaker. Now, I am happy that the use of the place. I am happy that the Prime Minister has said unequivocally now that it is not going to be a military base, because there has been a lot of articles written in Mauritius and overseas. Let me ask Mr. Speaker, however, how can he reconcile this to what again VPM Doriaou said on the 23rd of October 2018 in APQ? It will be both for civil and other uses, meaning military use. And this is what is causing the confusion.
Well, what is causing confusion?
Your VPM at the time said
not,
that, you asked me, he said
yeah,
that it is for civil and military use.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I hope that Honourable Leader of the Opposition is living in Mauritius. Does he know he has been a minister in charge of the airport and the seaport? Does he know how many military aircrafts have been landing in Mauritius for so many years? Permission has been granted, not only from India, France, United States. Does he know how many military ships call at the port here in Port Louis? Maybe I should ask my officer to have a statistic to inform the leader of the opposition. So if then we have the airstrip, which is under our control, where requests to land or to berth at the jetty will have to be addressed to the MPA or the Department of Civil Aviation. I'm talking about Mauritius, the Republic of Mauritius. So what is the problem? It will be for us to give authorization or not, like we are doing right now for our infrastructure here. So I don't see anything abnormal, and I don't see anything wrong in the answer that was given by my colleague, the then minister.
It is one thing for occasional use, and it is another thing for daily use, and should not mix issues. Because time is in fact going by, Mr. Speaker, I like to have a firm assurance from the Prime Minister, given that we know now that it will also be used by military aircraft that landing the runway in Agalega, and the port also presumably will be used by military ships. Can he give the firm assurance to this House that he will never authorize any ships or planes with military weapons to berth and to land Agalega?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I don't know if my previous answer was clear enough, but let me repeat again. And let me
I meant nuclear, and personally, I meant nuclear weapons. I'm sorry, not military, nuclear weapons. That is the question.
Nuclear. I don't know if in the past there have been either military aircraft or ships which have landed in Mauritius carrying military weapons. I should not think so, because I think we are a party to a convention where we agree that the Indian Ocean should be demilitarized, and therefore we not having nuclear weapons. But I cannot say, because I need to find out what is the position with regard to nuclear weapons. But let me say again that with regard to military aircrafts and naval ships carrying weapons, this has always been the case with regard to a number of countries which have made requests either to call at our port or to land in Mauritius. Approval has been given. I know of so many cases, and therefore I don't see why, as we do in Mauritius, the same should not apply for Agalega.
Mr. Speaker, I have one last question, but I don't know if my colleagues wish to intervene.
If you're allowing, then Honourable Amos asks prior to...
It's my question.
Honourable Amos.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister mentioned that the Right Limited was appointed as consultant. May we know when they were appointed and by whom?
when they were appointed, by whom I can give, I don't have the exact date, but I can undertake to provide this information to the House.
Put your last question, if you have one.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask the Honourable Prime Minister, the employees there, we know it's going to be under control instead of MPA or AML, but the actual employees there, people fueling the aircraft and looking after air traffic control, the firemen, all these people, are these people going to be from Mauritius? And if so, it's only going to be in a few months' time. What arrangements has been made to post these people there, or are they going to be foreigners manning these posts in Agalega?
Let me say, Mr. Speaker, sir, I have been provided with figures with regard to number of employees employed by OIDC, 176 of them right now, and out of whom 151 are Agaleans. And now, with regard to the future requirements in terms of employment for the infrastructural projects, well, I cannot say now how many will be required, what kind of personnel will be required. It's difficult to say now, but of course, I have replied. We will obviously offer, depending on obviously on their skills, when it is available, employment to the Agaleans. Yes, the information I have is for the previous question that was asked by Honorable Amos. Rights was appointed by the Government of India on the 23rd of September 2016.